I'm here with Melissa Trombetta, an Ossining mom who is an accountant by day and the author of a book about campus sexual assault called I Thought I Knew. Melissa, thank you for being here with me today. The book takes place in 1995 in upstate New York, where Nicole is days away from college graduation. That is, if she graduates, ready to move into her own apartment and start a new job in a prestigious accounting firm, when an unseen assailant attacks her, only steps away from the safety of her dorm, changing her forever. Nicole is desperate to move on, vowing never to tell anyone what happened to her, but her past continues to follow her and pull her back. She's forced to relearn how to trust herself and thrive in an uncomfortable reality, navigating relationships, old and new, and often left wondering, do you ever really know someone? Melissa, tell us what motivated you to write this book.
So my daughter was a couple months away from leaving to go to college, and she was going to be going 700 miles away, and my anxiety was ramping up that I wasn't going to be able to be there for her. I started to really get nervous, and how can I teach her about the realities before she goes to school? I know her and her personality, and just being a teenager, that if I start spewing stats at her and talking about the reality of, over 1 in 4 women can be sexually assaulted on a college campus. It's usually, an undergraduate, usually in the first couple of years that they're there, usually in the fall. There's a lot of statistics that support that. And so, but if I was to have that conversation with her, I knew she would just sort of glaze over. And so I started thinking about a way that I could get to her. And I decided the best way to do that was to write a fiction novel where this could happen to me. This is a reality. I wanted to make it as realistic, but I also wanted to have an educational element to it so that there was a takeaway from, what it would be like on a college campus.
The book opens with a rape scene.
Yes.
Now, why did you start the book that way?
So I would say there's 2 reasons for that. The first one, just as a writer, I wanted a good hook. The other reason, though, I would say is that it was very important to me that the reader saw this from the rapist point of view, because I didn't want it to open from the victim's point of view, because then I was worried that the reader would start to judge the victim right from the start. So what did she wear? Was she in a dark alley? Was she alone? And starting to that process, I wanted them to see it from a realistic assailant's point of view, where they've made decisions. There were opportunities to stop, and they continued. And I also wanted to show that it was someone that knew her, because that is also, more common, that it's someone that or that you've at least been in contact with in some way.
So that's interesting, because you did start it with the male point of view. The victim is a female, but what can men take away?
This is not a one and done. This is not like a hangover. You can't just, get over it. It has lasting effects. There's, documentation that, women have, suicidal tendencies. There's PTSD. There's emotional issues that will be lifelong issues if they're unresolved. That is one part of it that I want people to understand, the impact of the victim. But then also in the book, there's a character that, I loved writing, because he was someone that was very empathetic. He wasn't judgmental. He was someone that was a good listener, someone that was there for her and helped empower her to start the healing process. And so I think it's really important that men can be that for women.
So that's more about men being part of the equation with protecting women. But what about the peer groups? What about men talking to each other, not boast about sexual conquests or other peer-related bystander, upstander tips?
Yeah, shut it down, right? That's like a huge one. Be a voice.
So you told me that you wrote this book about and for your daughter, but you also have a son. What did he get out of this book?
I have very clearly explained to him, you making fun, laughing about, with your buddies about, a woman getting hurt. It's not a joke. When your women friends hear you, your girlfriends hear you talk like that, there's an impact on a relationship, because they don't feel that you are there in their corner.
Nicole, in your book, recovers and moves on stronger than ever before. She has this resilience.
Part of the theme in the story is that I really wanted her to sort of go from victim to victorious. And that was important to, end with a strong character and someone that did thrive. Life is uncomfortable. It's going to be uncontrollable. And I wanted to have a heroine at the end that just was able to kind of work through and empower, a reader.
It sounds like a life lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
That
exactly.
Life will throw lots of things your way. You don't have to be identified by the bad things that happen in your life.
It can sort of go across the span of anything where you've had a challenge before in any capacity. So absolutely, I think that the lessons that are in here, it's important, yeah.
We are going back to school now. Everybody's going back to school. Why should parents buy this book for themselves and or their children to read now?
I added into the book a lot about the education, so how you could protect yourself, how you are more self-aware, having groups of people that are you're watching each other's back, making sure that you get back to your dorm safely. So there's an element to that, but there's also an element, the shock value, if they're not aware, if it's not part of their life to think about sexual assault on campus. The whole point is to have the awareness of it. Don't wear AirPods walking across campus and sort of tuning out. Don't be a target, right? And so I think just having just that spark and sort of it starts to get into your subconscious of like, wow, maybe I should wear one. Maybe I should travel in a pack. I shouldn't walk in the dark.
So I appreciate what you just said about basically not victim blaming. Everybody has their own responsibility and respect they have to give to other people. One of the things that I enjoyed about your book, with the male character being empathetic to her, is to make it okay to speak out, to shine the light, and to say this happened to me, not because of me.
It's going to pay forward, right? Where you're going to have more people that are going to be more comfortable to report to campus safety and to police, or even just talking to their friends and creating an awareness of like, hey, this happened to me. And then it might pivot the spotlight to the person that did it and not to the person that it was done to.
Where can I get your book?
So it's available on my website, melissatrombetta.com, but you can also get it at all major retailers, Barnes & Noble, Target. Obviously, you can get it on Amazon. There's an Audible version, Kindle, as well as paperback.
We've found, working with people who have been harmed, that the number one best practice is to have a buddy, to not be by yourself, to make sure that you physically are with someone at the beginning of the night and at the end of the night, and that is your trusted friend and someone who you will be accountable to, and they will be accountable to you as well. It is really bad to rely on pepper spray or a pocket knife. Most people are not trained law enforcement and don't know how to use something like that. It also gives you a real false sense of security to have a pepper spray in the bottom of your bag when you could never get it out in time. Parents talk to us about tragic things that have happened to their children, and the one line that always comes through is, if she hadn't been by herself, this wouldn't have happened. Melissa, thank you so much for speaking with us today. It's just been such a pleasure. Your book is incredible. The message that you're sending out is so important and valuable, and we really appreciate it. I encourage everyone to go out and buy your book. The Westchester County Office for Women assists victims of sexual assault and domestic violence. We are here to help. Please call us if you need assistance for yourself or others. The phone number is 914-995-5972. I want you to please remember that if it's an emergency, to call 911. And if we can't help because there is someone out of state or you need assistance for someone who is not in the county, we will make a soft handoff, a referral to the appropriate resources where that person is. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for joining the conversation.